So, welcome to another edition of bohmcast. Today, we have a guy sitting here that I have huge admiration and respect for, coming from an industry that normally, when you have people that have been in the industry as long as this guy, they're jaded and have a low sense of energy around the industry. This individual, when I first got into the business, was somebody that I was like, wow, I thought I had energy and was on a sugar high from my new adventure here with the Abbey in El Cerrito. But this guy has been in the industry a long time and is moving 4 or 5 times my pace, and his level of excitement and enthusiasm around product is unmatched, I believe. So I wanted to get your take, Bret, on the industry. But first, why don't you just tell us and the listeners a little bit about you, Bret Lowder.
Oh my, that was a build-up. Yes, I have been in the industry about 30 years. Started in 1991. Started as a salesperson in a small store that was to become a big chain, and it was just one of those things. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be. I'm an eternal optimist, and I found that it was engaging. I love the fact that I could sit and talk with people, and I drove my sales mentors nuts, Kevin, because I was a nonlinear thinker, and I loved, my brain jumped around so much, but I loved engaging with the client. And you had touched based on my optimism. I believe in passion. I believe passion is a key to success in life in general, but I apply it to the business. And that's what I love about it, because I've watched it evolve over the last 30 years from a very commodity-driven industry that was 100% price. And the pricing concepts, I really thought that was a true concern. And the more time that I spent working with clients and then eventually growing in the industry, going from a salesperson to a store manager, and then progressing up in the chain, youngest general manager, youngest vice president. But to go back to that initial thread and how the industry has moved forward, I really see people embracing carpet as functional art. There will always be aspects of our industry that need to be commoditized. You need commercial, you need rental, you need things that are very price driven. But the beautiful thing that I see from when I started to where I am now is that people are really looking and embracing carpet for something more than just something soft or to keep a room warm. It's an extension of the personality.
And that's, this is interesting because I knew this is the direction you would go in that response, and in doing so, I feel compelled to ask you, if you've been in it 30 years, you'd look like you're about early 40s, maybe. So it means it was probably the only job or the only profession you've ever been in. But so that's number one. But it seems to me like you're more of a design or decorator, maybe architect type. I mean, you have a very art side to you, a very design side. You're always well dressed. You keep yourself looking good, and whenever you're talking about product, it's always about the things that I think are the most important to the customer that you've been just talking about, and that is color, texture, feel, that stuff that really is part of the experience. And that's really when you hear people look and appreciate art, it's moved them, right? And so the right flooring, to me, is really that. And I think I've stole this from you. Is it the fifth wall of the room? Is that the stuff that's on the floor? But it's that functional art. So, is this the only thing you've ever done? And is there a design piece that you wished you were doing more of?
Yes, yes, and yes. It's something that I've loved everything about the industry as I've watched it evolved, and I love all components of it. I've been involved in store design. I've always been guilty of sacrificing form over function. I want it to be beautiful, and I want people to see that same experience. So a lot of times I will put together a display in a store that the salespeople are like, but I can't get around that rack. I'll be like, yeah, but look at it when you walk in. People are immediately taken with it. And it just goes to what I had started with passion, is when I work with people, whether it be a client or a new salesperson, if you can get people just to embrace that, because so often, and we see it so much in retail. I ask new salespeople when I'm working with them, what's the difference between a customer and a client? And they often will give me very colorful answers, but a customer is somebody that you serve. A client is somebody that's under the care of a professional. And that was what I tried to instill, not only through my actions, but when I train people, to treat people like that. Because so often we get caught up in our little worlds, and we have a million things that we're running through our minds. And we're so used to, how can I help you? These normal things that don't break that internal train of thought. But when somebody opens to you and they come at you with that positive attitude and they're talking about color, a lot of times you have their attention immediately because they don't expect it. You have to be a little bit different. But I believe that people will experience that passion if you evoke it. They want to be part of it. They want to get part of the excitement. Now, don't get me wrong, Kevin. Sometimes I got to back it down because I'm super colorful. I'm not on camera. I speak with my hands, and I watch people sometimes recoil, and I have to tone it down. I drop the tonality of my voice. I look at my body mannerisms. But you know what? Even the most jaded individual and cranky people that I've worked with, that if you show them that unbridled excitement and joy, it's contagious. And people then are passionate about the process.
Awesome. So you brought some treats today from Santa Cruz. So tell me the name of it again.
This is Dunlop's Donuts in Santa Cruz, California. I became enthralled with this place, which happens to be a quarter mile from my home, so my waistline's in danger. But I found they had a product that was called a cronut. And I'd heard about them. They came out in New York several years ago. People waited in line, and I tried one, and it blew my hair back. And it is something that literally, when I look at that, it's a special product. And it's something that we were talking before this began, that when you have something special, you got to share it with people. You can't just present it and expect them to understand it. You have to tell them what makes it special, what to anticipate. And when you can do that, people are quizzical. They're like, wait a minute, so you're telling me the combination of butter and sugar and that exterior crunch, and that there is just, it builds up anticipation.
Well, and you quickly, because you were watching me getting ready to cut into it and break it apart, and you were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You actually have to peel this apart in 3 sections, right? Because you said the middle and the bottom is your favorite?
Bottom has the least amount of sugar and a crunch. So I start from the bottom layer. The center becomes ethereal because of how the butter liquefies. Because when you use a traditional French croissant, they pound the butter in frozen. So when they drop it in the hot oil, it raises like a croissant. The butter liquefies, but then the exterior becomes a crunch, of which they then apply a little bit of a sugar batter to create a highly addictive treat.
So this is, for the listeners that aren't lost on this is all coming from a guy that has spent his entire career in the flooring industry. Just resonate with that for a minute. So tell me another thing, tell the listeners, if you will, about your other late in life passion, maybe, that this is in Santa Cruz, you live in Santa Cruz, and I know from your Instagram that you're a surfer.
Yes.
So tell me about that. And a late life surfer, right?
Quite a journey. Learning to surf at 55 is challenging. For any listeners that are listening that are going, I really want to try surfing, I would highly recommend it. But I tell you, it is a journey, but it is something that has touched me. I'm an optimist, but kind of when you started out, and it is easy to become jaded in life. And I turned 55, and I wanted something that was for me, but something that could invoke that passion that I've talked about a lot. And I can tell you, the first time that I dropped in on a wave and got to my feet, it was everything. It was auditory, it was visual, it was a rush. And it's something that, yes, culturally, in Santa Cruz, the 10-year-olds run over me. They've been surfing since they were 2. It's a tough culture to break into, but it is so rewarding. I get out of the water, Kevin, and I am giggling like a child. And I look at so many of my friends that are even younger than me, and it's easy to lose that joy, to lose that passion. And I can tell you, even when the surf isn't breaking and I'm out in that spectacular water, the sun, the birds, the fact that there is sea life swimming all around me, it just shows me the beauty that's out there. And I try to quantify those thoughts, because I'll take something that's very special. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it can be tough to be optimistic. Sometimes you just can't get it going. But a lot of times when I want to channel that, I will simply take a moment, something I experienced out there in the water, and I will carry that forward. And it just helps me just convey that. And like I said, so many people kind of walk in gray. They've become tired, they've become jaded, they've built up the walls. But when they see somebody that has that joy in them, it's infectious.
It's hard to have a bad day when somebody's walking up on you with a big smile, and you can just tell they're positive, right?
It is, and it's all right here. I mean, but the question, was surfing. And my God, it really, one of the bigger cliches, it's not just a sport, it's a lifestyle. Well, I can tell you from my personal experience, somebody compared it to golf, and they said, well, golf's a very difficult sport. And I said, you're right. Golf, because I am an avid golfer. I'm terrible at it. You have to think about a million things at once when you swing, but you think about nothing. Well, surfing is the same, Kevin. You have to think about a million things at once. You're thinking about wind direction, swell, height. Is it a crusher swell? What, am I going to run over anybody? And you're thinking about a million things at once, just like golf. But in golf, the ground doesn't move. So, but to say that I am enthralled and will be a surfer until the day I die, this is part of my life.
That's awesome. So let's pull it back to carpet. The art side of carpet. What are the styles or textures or looks that you are most drawn to? I know that you're our Stanton rep, and we've got some very beautiful nylons, wools, and it just seems to me, for me, as my personal favorite, is always migrating towards the style stuff. It could reside in the nylons, but it also, I think, the natural aspect and just the handmade uniqueness of the wool products is what does it for me. What does it for you? Because I've been through a number of PKs with you, and you've got the same passion across all of the product types.
Yes.
Which one does it for you?
You bring up a good point, Kevin. It's funny. I worked on the retail side for about 25 years at a very high level. And I'll be honest with you, towards the end, I found myself so focused on hard surface because I was bored with carpet. And unfortunately, a lot of salespeople, it's easy to fall into that trap. Hard surface is a very high-ticket sale. But going to work for Stanton Industries reinvigorated me to carpet. And I had no idea the scope of their line. But you were just right there when you had said it, that when you look at carpet and what it's become, it is not relocation beige anymore. There's nothing passionate about relocation beige. But I look at structure. I look at the fact that I'm a bold person. I like dazzling. I want to see a peak and a valley. I want to see shadows. I want something to create a visual effect, not only that makes me happy when I see it when I wake up, when I see it when I go to sleep, but let's be honest, I want my guests to come over and be jealous. I want them to look at that and go, that's absolutely amazing. But as far as trends, everything that I see right now, aside from a peak and a valley or a pattern, it's color. Color dazzles me, but also what we're finding as an industry, and we've known this for some time, but now we're actually looking at it from this side of the industry on how color affects emotion. Color does create an emotion. They did a study that I saw many years ago on late night TV, and they were using colored goggles with weightlifters. They would put a red shade in front of the weightlifter, and they could lift more than they normally did. They would put a cool tone on those same goggles, and they could not even get to what they normally lift. It depowered them. They use color to control violence in prisons, which is a bit of an extreme example, but it's how much we are affected by our environment. So much of everything that I'm talking, yes, I'm an optimist, yes, I'm passionate, but we need to think about our environments and how it creates a mood. I love peak, I love valley, I love texture, but for me, it's the colorways that we're introducing and how you interpret those colorways. Is it a felted yarn that I'm looking at the side of the yarn that creates almost the look of a flowing hairlock, or is it a completely sheared surface that does nothing but shimmer? You know, these are all things that affect mood. And yes, carpet is beautiful, it has a function, but I also look at that when I talk with clients that based on what you paint your room and the floor covering that you put in not only sets the stage visually for your guests, but can dictate the mood.
Wow, that's awesome. And this is what I knew would come out of this conversation today, was all this fun ways to articulate what you kind of said in the beginning, that carpet was kind of boring. It is not. It is not boring. I always, when I'm showing people a product, like to tell them that, you might, hard surface is kind of like, that's the thing everybody wants, right? But you're going to cover hard surface with carpet. You're not covering carpet with hard surface. And the first thing that your feet hit in the morning when you get out of bed is, if it's a soft surface, it's going to be much more pleasurable than landing on, I don't know, engineered hardwood or LVT or who knows what, right? So
100%. If you get out of bed and step on a cold floor, I want to go back to bed. Mm-hmm. But it is so much that's being driven in the industry right now. 65% of Stanton's business is custom area rugs. I mean, we have a huge operation. Everything we build can be installed, but because of the migration of hard surface.
When you say installed, you mean stretched in, like wall to wall?
Yes, like doing a bedroom.
Because a custom piece is really bound or serge. It's cut to whatever size you want, and then bind it or serge as a finished edge, right? And place it on top of a hard surface. And then when you're saying fit in or stretched in, that's wall to wall.
When you're doing wall to wall, which of course was all we did in the 90s, but because of that migration of hard surface, people are doing area rugs, which can be bound by a machine, can be bound by hand, can have a fabric border, can have a faux leather. Area rugs have become that signature move. It's the cherry on top. When you're doing hard surface is not inexpensive, but so often our industry fails to put that last component on because hard surface is cold and it's noisy. And to not put an area rug in that space, Stanton Industries has done the actuary research. Your clients will buy area rugs and runners within 60 days of the point of installation because they will experience that. The noise, the cold, and it doesn't make a room intimate. An area rug not only serves the function of making the room warmer, suppressing echo, but it makes the sitting area intimate. In a cavernous room, you can drop a small area rug and a couple of chairs, and for a visual space, you can create a space to where it feels comfortable just to sit and talk. And these become statements. I mean, after being in the industry for 30 years, I have summer rugs, I have winter rugs based on the mud flow.
Only a flooring guy would be switching out his his accent pieces with the changing times of the year, right?
It is, but it is something that, you had made that comment, that I take fashion very seriously. I believe fashion is the highest art form, whether it's a personal fashion or a statement in your home. All these things affect mood, and
your mood changes.
Your mood changes. I mean, that's it. I mean, not to get philosophical, Kevin. I couldn't get that word out, but I believe that, this is our life. And sometimes we get locked in our heads and we need things that are beautiful to bring for us to remember. My story of sitting in the ocean, playing with sea otters and dolphins. And that's great when I'm surfing, Well, how do I replicate those same feelings? I put things around me that are intimate, that make me smile.
I've always said, too, I used to have this tagline on the bottom of my email that said that music has the power to alter moods. And it's very much what you're talking about. It's literally when you walk into a space, you should be setting the tenor of how that mood could be. You could create the mood, right, with a certain look, right? Sound, touch, feel, smell, all those senses, right?
That's a fact, Kevin, because not only people's impact based on that, whether it's something that you're wearing and you address other people. I mean, let's be honest, we can occasionally be a little bit of a judgy people. They look at how you are dressed. Mm-hmm. They are going to interpret and make a snap judgment on their 30 seconds of viewing you for the first time. But let's also think about when you entertain. I live in Santa Cruz, California. I live 10 steps from the ocean, so I have a lot of guests now. And I want to make a statement when they come over. I want them to go ahead, and when they see something, once again, I'm trying to create an extension of my personality. And you know, when you see somebody come in and it's a very blasé fashion they're representing to the world, that's the face that we're putting forward. When people come to your residence, or they're coming into your courtyard, your backyards, that's another big trend, is what we're seeing in design. And we live in California, let's be honest, it doesn't snow here. Okay, we're talking about bringing the outdoors in. Stanton Industries has introduced a series of outdoor products, things that are UV stabilized, that you can use, you can put out on that deck, you can put by the pool. Most people have views from windows or floor-to-ceiling glass looking out on those areas. We can now bring in those same rugs that will match, that are literally waterproof, that go with the waterproof flooring that's driving the market, which Stanton has a waterproof flooring line now as well. But what's going to happen is, once again, it's an extension of your personality. People come over, and it doesn't just start when they enter your living room. It can be an area rug at your front doorstep. These are ways that you say who you are, how you present yourself to the world. And I just want everybody to smile, and I think I can do that by dressing colorfully, by showing people the beauty in color, because it makes people smile. And at this stage in my life, I want to see more smiles and less cries.
Well, we could go on all day, and I really appreciate you taking the time to participate in the bohmcast, and I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation to share with the world, which we will do with the help of Alex de Guzman. It'll give people an opportunity to see from a real professional what they should be thinking about, or maybe what they subliminally didn't think about when they see an area rug or walk into a room, and how that mood, or that how you came in visually, how that kind of changed your mood or might have altered it. So, Bret, thanks very much. This was a great time. We're going to definitely have you on in the future, and we'll talk about something else. But thanks. Appreciate it.
I truly appreciate being invited, Kevin, honestly. And I truly hope you have me back, because Lord knows I love to talk. And this dark espresso that you bought me is just, I am ready to talk for another 60 minutes.
Thanks, Bret.